Welcome to the Central School of English Stage 5 video series. In this video, we will learn the difference between the active and passive voice. We will also learn how to make passive sentences in English. We will look at active and passive sentences in the present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, present perfect, past perfect, future tenses, and using the modal verb would. In English, active voice sentences have the structure subject plus verb plus object. The subject does the action, the verb is the action, and the object is the object or person that the action is performed on. For example, Natalia cooks dinner. The subject of the sentence is Natalia. Natalia does the action. The object of the sentence is dinner. Dinner receives the action. This type of sentence is known as an active sentence. The active voice communicates that the subject of the sentence is active. The subject of an active sentence does the action in the sentence. If we begin the sentence with the object or person that the action is performed on, we must make a passive sentence. In passive sentences, the subject of the sentence does not do the action. In passive sentences, the subject of the sentence receives the action. For example, dinner is cooked by Natalia. The subject of the sentence is dinner. Dinner receives the action. Natalia does the action. To make a passive voice sentence, we must use the verb to be plus the past participle of a main verb. To change a present simple active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we must use the present simple of the verb to be plus the past participle of a main verb. The present simple active sentence, John drinks coffee, becomes the coffee is drunk by John in the passive voice. The present simple active sentence, Leo drives a taxi, becomes a taxi is driven by Leo in the passive voice. When we write present continuous active voice sentences in the passive voice, we use is being for singular and are being for plural plus the past participle of the verb. The present continuous active sentence, the politicians are signing the agreement, becomes the agreement is being signed by the politicians in the passive voice. The present continuous active sentence, the worker is writing some emails, becomes some emails are being written by the worker in the passive voice. To change a past simple active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we must use the past simple of the verb to be plus the past participle of a main verb. For example, the past simple active voice sentence, Susan broke the cup, becomes the cup was broken by Susan in the passive voice. The past simple active sentence, a postman delivered the letters, becomes the letters were delivered by a postman in the passive voice. To change a past continuous active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we must use the past simple of the verb to be plus being plus the past participle of a main verb. For example, the past continuous active voice sentence, the children were playing football, becomes football was being played by the children in the passive voice. To change a present perfect active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we use have been plus the past participle of a main verb, or has been plus the past participle of a main verb. For example, the present perfect active voice sentence "tourists have visited the museum" becomes "the museum has been visited by tourists" in the passive voice. The present perfect active voice sentence "Sue has passed the exam" becomes "the exam has been passed by Sue" in the passive voice. To change a past perfect active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we use had been plus the past participle of a main verb. For example, the past perfect active voice sentence "Jane had drunk some tea" becomes "some tea had been drunk by Jane" in the passive voice. The past perfect active voice sentence "thieves had stolen the car" becomes "the car had been stolen by thieves" in the passive voice. To change a future simple active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence, we use will be plus the past participle of the verb. For example, the future simple active sentence "Jane will watch a film" becomes "a film will be watched by Jane" in the passive voice. The future simple active sentence "David will design a website" becomes "a website will be designed by David" in the passive voice. To change the future structure "to be going to" plus the infinitive from an active voice sentence to a passive voice sentence, we use is, are, or going to, plus be plus the past participle of the main verb. For example, the future active voice sentence "Jason is going to write a letter" becomes "a letter is going to be written by Jason" in the passive voice. When we use the passive voice, we focus on the action rather than who did the action. Let's compare active and passive sentences. Dean painted the house. This sentence is in the active voice. The subject, Dean, performed the action. He painted the house. The main focus of this sentence is Dean. If we rewrite this sentence using the passive voice, we can say, "The house was painted by Dean." The two sentences have the same meaning, but in the passive voice sentence, the focus is on the house, not on Dean. In the passive voice sentence, the house is the focus of the sentence. Here is one more example of an active voice and passive voice sentence. Linda broke the chair. This sentence has the structure subject plus verb plus object. This is an active voice sentence. The subject, Linda, performed the action, she broke the chair. The main focus of this sentence is Linda. If we rewrite this sentence using the passive voice, we can say, "The chair was broken by Linda." In the passive voice sentence, the focus is on the chair. We can also use the passive voice when we do not know who did the action, or when it is not important who did the action. In the active voice, we can say, "Somebody robbed my house." However, we do not know who that person was. In this case, we can use the passive voice. We can say, "My house was robbed." Here is another example. Someone damaged the bicycle. This sentence is in the active voice. However, we do not know who is responsible for damaging the bicycle. In this case, we can use the passive voice. We can say, "The bicycle was damaged." In this video, we learned that when we make a sentence in the active voice, the structure of the sentence is subject plus verb plus object. We also learned that when we make sentences in the active voice in English, we wish to focus on the subject responsible for the action. We learned that when we make a sentence in the passive voice in English, we must use the verb to be plus the past participle of the main verb. When we make sentences in English in the passive voice, we wish to focus on the action. We also use the passive voice when we do not know who did the action or when it is not important who did the action. This lesson was brought to you by the Central School of English, an English school in Dublin. For more lessons, go to centralschool.ie.